Good morning. It's 8:30, and today we'll be having a discussion around the topic of delegation in decision-making, knowing when to empower other people. As you are aware, our programs are tailored towards discussion around great leadership. And today we have prepared for us great individuals who will be having discussion with us around great leadership. And the business school Netherlands have been running the program on great leadership, and this is the 51st episode. Our discussions on each of the topics are around 4 major pillars. One is change leadership. The second is on decision-making leadership. The third is on performance leadership. And there's the fourth is on responsible leadership. Today, we have 2 major speakers. One will be the presenter, and the other will be the reflector. We'll be talking around decision-making leadership. And this program is sponsored in cooperation and partnership with Business School Netherlands by the Culture Factors and Change Organization. It's such a great opportunity to be able to share knowledge with people globally, having an understanding of what we need to learn about leadership, what we need to do. And we have with us today the Vice President of the Culture Factor Canada and the Managing Partner, the Culture Factor Africa at the Culture Factor Group, Dr. Okey Okere, who will be the speaker for today. You are welcome, sir. Good morning.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We also have with us today another great guy. Alvin Agorom is going to be the reflector. Alvin Agorom is the head strategy brand management at Union Bank of Nigeria, one of the oldest and leading banks in Nigeria. You are welcome, Alvin.
Thank you very much, Prof. Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as not to waste any further time, it's my pleasure to call on Dr. Okey Okere to please make his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you, everybody, for joining in. Just want to confirm that we can see my slides.
Yes, please.
Super.
Very visible. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right. So without further ado, want to quickly go to talk about great leadership. And if you can see, just going into one of the aspects of great leadership, and we're talking specifically here about decision-making leadership. And one of the things that leaders do as part of their decision-making and as part of their leadership is to delegate tasks and authority to people. Someone said that leadership basically is about decision-making, and you become an effective leader when you make many decisions that are correct and you make them quickly. So you're an effective leader when you're able to make great decisions, make them on time. And one of the important decisions you have to make as a leader is who will do what and when. So this is all about delegation. Why is it important to delegate? Well, delegation will help you improve efficiencies. You know, if you delegate tasks, duties, assignments, you ask others to take on responsibilities that match their skill sets, whereas you as a leader can focus more on high priority tasks. Delegation also will, in terms of efficiency maximization, it will ensure that you as a leader, you are focused more and more on the strategic outlook of the organization or the business, and ensuring that your staff can do other things. Delegation also would help your staff to develop their skills, and when you assign tasks or responsibilities to them, they will be in a better position to handle more responsibilities like that in the future. And you can also look at that as a way of you taking care of your succession planning. When you assign tasks to people who work with you, they are developing their skills, and sometime in the future, they will be in a position to carry on when you are unable to carry on. Again, when you have retired or you have left the scene, you can hand over some of these duties to them now to build their skills, their leadership skills even for the future. Delegation also enhances team collaboration, team collaboration. It fosters a better collaboration amongst the team. It also ensures a shared sense of ownership because people are doing tasks and supporting others in those tasks. It also improves innovation as well. It increases your innovation as a team because when you delegate tasks to others in the team, they would likely bring fresh perspectives to the work that they're doing. And, putting them to task will also cause them to grow, as we said. And that growth challenge could reveal innovative solutions. They could come about another way of putting the reports together that will be faster. Or they could even come about with solutions on how to make the work lighter and to achieve the same quality in a shorter time or with less costs. And as you delegate tasks and you engage your employees, it improves the level of employee engagement. Team members will feel valued. It will boost their morale. It will boost their productivity because they feel that they are doing something and they are contributing. And importantly as well, with that shared sense of ownership that has been created, it will create entrepreneurship in your organization, shared responsibility. People will feel that they have something to contribute, and they will also have that sense of ownership, that they are a part of it, and they will see it as important to them. Now, when should you delegate? Of course, you can't delegate every task. Otherwise, well, it's possible to delegate nearly every task. But before you start delegating, you need to see whether that task is a routine task or a complex task. You should delegate routine tasks that are less strategic, that the team members, their skill sets and their abilities can meet up. But you probably want to hold on to those complex strategic tasks that they cannot handle, that their skill sets will not be suitable for. The other thing as well that you want to delegate when you are delegating is to look at the level of the skill and the interest and the competence of the people that you are delegating to. So you don't want to delegate to people more than they can handle. You want to be able to look at their skill level and give them assignments that you know they are able to do. The other thing is when you're looking at the workload. So you have to delegate when you see that the workload is becoming too much for you as the leader, or even for some of your team members to balance the load. So delegation would help to do that. So you would look at people in terms of their skills and their competence, and you would hand over some of the tasks to them. And then the last thing that you have to consider is trust. And this is an area where me as a person, as a leader, that I personally have struggled in the past. And I'm sure a lot of the people who are on this call would have that same problem as well. Trust here is, okay, if I hand over this task to this person, how am I sure they will not embarrass me? It happens to a lot of us. And unfortunately, some of us eventually will dive back in and go and take that task from them after you have delegated to them. So delegation requires trust. But it's not blind trust, it's not foolish trust. You are going to have to trust in their ability to make decisions, in their ability to do the work that you have assigned to them. But please note, ladies and gentlemen, trust is earned, and trust is both ways. It's both ways. So while you are trusting them to come up with the to have the ability and the sense of responsibility to fulfill the task, you too, they also have to trust you as well. They also have to trust you, so that they will trust you, that you will give them the space to work, and that they will trust you, that you will also believe that they can do it, right? So, and this brings me to this concept that I want to share about leadership in terms of delegation and in terms of leadership generally. What kind of leader are you? Are you a driver or are you a teacher? Yeah. A driver is someone who says, I'm going to push you and get you to get it done. And that actually can work in a wide variety of contexts. But the level of trust in that situation is usually not very much. On the other hand, you have teachers in quote, who will be very patient to wait for the staff to develop and be able to perform their tasks. But then, of course, it will take more time, but oftentimes it's a much more sustainable way of getting things done. So still talking about when to delegate, please remember the Eisenhower matrix. And I make it bold to say that this is one of the first things I learned in Business School Netherlands when I did my MBA in Business School Netherlands. And also proud to say that the gentleman who is moderating today's program, Professor Larry Balle, was the one that taught me the Eisenhower matrix. And one of the first things I learned, and he taught us then, how do you prioritize? When you want to prioritize your activities, look at activities that are urgent and activities that are not urgent, and then you juxtapose them against activities that are important and activities that are not important. Those activities that are urgent and important, you should do by yourself. You don't delegate them. Like attending your board meeting. Attending your board meeting, preparing and attending your board meeting, you don't delegate that to your manager. The board will be unhappy if your manager shows up, in most cases. You should be there to prepare to answer questions from the board. That you don't delegate. Some tasks that are urgent, that are important, but not urgent, you should handle them by yourself, but you schedule them for some other time. A good example, for instance, will be giving an employee feedback in terms of their development or mentoring an employee. It is important to do, but you don't have to do it right now. And then if you have tasks that are urgent, but they are not important, you delegate them. All those routine tasks, delegate them. For instance, you want to delegate some approvals for request of funds. You give approval limits to people in your team to be able to handle that. You don't have to approve every naira, euro, or dollar that the team is requesting for. Otherwise, you become the approver in chief instead of the chief executive officer. And then those tasks that are not important and they're not urgent, delete them from your schedule so that they don't waste your time. Then when we talk about delegation, what are the risks in delegating? So we've talked about what delegation is. We talked about when you should delegate, which is the core of this discussion. When do you delegate? And I will tell you in a few minutes how to delegate. But before we talk about how you delegate, let's talk about the risks of delegating. And I know I'm not the only one in this page who has seen this risk or these risks and has experienced these risks from time to time. There's a risk of losing control. When I give the task to someone, I no longer have visibility over that task. And it makes it difficult for me to ensure that the work is done according to my expectations. Well, you need to have trust to enable you to cede some control so that your staff can get things done, right? But at the same time, you should be careful to be sure that you still have a system that enables that accountability is in there. Talking about accountability is one of the issues that could actually come up when you delegate. One of the risks of delegation, how sure are we that the person who are giving this task to will be able to see it through to the end and be accountable for the job? Choosing the wrong person is another problem. Right? Choosing the wrong person. You're assigning a task to somebody who lacks the necessary skills or experience, to provide, to perform that task. When you are delegating, beware of what they call the Peter principle. The Peter principle is something in management which goes to a story from the Bible about Peter and the Lord Jesus Christ. where Peter looked at Jesus and told him that Jesus should call him to walk on water. And Peter came out of the boat and walked on water for a bit, looked at the waves and got scared and started drowning and asked Jesus for help. So the Peter principle in management is you don't over-delegate to people. You don't over-promote people. You don't promote people more than their ability. You don't assign them tasks beyond what they can do. You need to be sure that the person you are assigning the task to has the capacity to fulfill that task within the required parameters. You also avoid over-delegation and relying too much on a few individuals or even assigning too much work to a particular individual. And when you over-delegate, failure is almost certain. And then as you are delegating as well, beware of a loss of vision or alignment. If the delegated tasks stray from the strategic goals or the vision of the organization, it can derail the initiatives or the priorities that you have. And then inconsistent results is also one of the problems, one of the risks around delegation. If the team lacks the experience or the knowledge, then the results might not be consistent. And then the last thing is reputation damage. In the end, if you don't delegate properly, your reputation as an organization and as a leader as well will be damaged. And this is one of the challenges that we as leaders need to be aware of. If you delegate tasks or duties to a particular staff, if that staff fails, it is not the staff that failed. It is actually you that failed, in a sense. So you need to be aware of those. All right. So how do you delegate like a boss, as we say nowadays, in woke English? How do you delegate effectively? First thing is to choose the right tasks. Know what you can delegate and know what you can't delegate. Delegate tasks that others can do, and you free up time for more strategic responsibilities. In delegating these tasks, so once you have identified the tasks, you now identify the right people. Who can I delegate to? Whose skills match up to the tasks required? But not the skills alone, ladies and gentlemen. The skills and the interest. The skills and the interest. Some people might have the ability to perform a task, but they might not be really interested in performing that task. So in that case, please be aware and ensure that the skills and the interests match. And then it is then that you can now delegate to them. As you are delegating to them, communicate clearly. Provide clear instructions, let them know the expectations, let them know the deadlines, and let them know the desired outcomes as well. Right? Communicate clearly. And then you empower with autonomy. Trust that your team will make the right decisions. Allow them to approach the task their way. And don't be the micromanager in chief. Don't be micromanager in chief. Be the chief executive officer or the chief operating officer. Don't be the micromanager in chief or chief micromanager. Yeah. Allow them to devolve their own way of getting it done. Then you provide resources and support. Ensure that your team, they have the funds required, the resources, the authority required to get the job done. One of the 14 principles of management from Henry Fayol is the principle of matching responsibility and authority. If you give someone responsibility to get a task done, ensure that the person has the right level of authority to get it done. Right? If you give somebody responsibility, but you don't give them authority, you're going to frustrate them. And if you give somebody authority without giving them responsibility, you're going to make them a tyrant. Right? And then last but not the least, follow up the task. Don't micromanage, please remember. Follow up. Check on your progress periodically, as agreed, when agreed. Offer guidance when needed, and then provide constructive feedback during the course of the task, and importantly, after the task has been completed. So in closing, delegation is important for us as leaders. We have to delegate so that we don't kill ourselves. Unfortunately, a lot of leaders are struggling with, I'm sorry to say this, with heart problems and high blood pressure because they're carrying too much. They're doing too much. Delegate for your own health. Delegate for your own sanity. Delegate, importantly, to get things done effectively. It's one of the secrets of success. In fact, leadership is about influencing people to get things done. That's what leadership is all about. Know when to delegate. Remember the Eisenhower matrix? Classify objects that are tasks that are urgent and tasks that are not urgent, important and not important. Focus on doing the urgent and important tasks. Delegate the tasks that are urgent but not important. Know the risks of delegation. control risk, accountability, the reputation, be aware of all of those, or choosing the wrong person as well. And then last but not the least, delegate effectively. And how do you delegate effectively? Choose the right tasks, assign to the right people, communicate clearly, empower, don't be a micromanager, provide the resources, and lastly, follow up and give feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, it is such a pleasure again to make this presentation. Thank you. I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, okay, for a very beautiful presentation. It's now time to call on Alvin, who will be sharing his reflection on this beautiful presentation on delegation in decision making. Over to you, Alvin Agoron.
Thank you very much, Dr. Okey. Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much for walking us through. I think personally, I needed to hear most of these points again, because slowly you begin to drift, further away from where you hope to be when it comes to how you manage your team and how you sort of project yourself professionally. So I don't know. I'm hoping everyone on the call started the session. If not, relax. Feel free. So just be sure that in the next 5 minutes you get most of the meat. With respect to everything Dr. Okey talked us through. So it's really about the power of delegation, or rather the essence of delegation. It's something that if you're not careful, you just find yourself being overburdened with a lot of stuff, and people working with you are as free as can be. So just to recap, I think what's critical is 3 major aspects, in my opinion. First one is knowing when to delegate. You need to know what is routine and what is complex, what can be handled based on the capacity of your colleagues, of your team members. It is one thing to be a driver or be a teacher, in Dr. Okey's words. A driver, trust is low. You have some formula to get results out. You have people that, will help you get to where you're trying to get to, but you don't build that synergy, that solid connection across your team. And then there's a teacher who is, more of a mentor, so to speak. Patient, hand-holding, lots of feedback, lots of interactions. And then over time, you have very, high level of trust across, I'll use the word mentor and mentee because you're a teacher in this case. Another very important established matrix that we all need to take out is the Eisenhower matrix that deals with the urgent, not important, and then the not important, urgent, not important, or important. 4 quadrants. This take out time to go through this. It would help you become better leaders at your duty. Now, let's not kid ourselves. There is some level of exposure or some consequence in quote that come with delegating. Yeah, you do not want to embrace this art. I call delegation an art because it's something you have to master. You do not want to embrace this art and not be aware of the risks to avoid. So key to mention will be loss of control. In some cases, you delegate so much that you lose track of what's actually going on in that respect. Then there's also the part of over delegation. You delegate so much that you sort of disconnected from the essence of such deliverables. Now, there's also the risk of inconsistent results, and I'll use myself as an example. If any department or unit I'm supporting in the office, if they see a deck that I prepared myself, they will know. A presentation I prepared, they will know. If they see a deck that someone else on my team prepared, they will also know, because there's some level of everyone's style is sort of different, speak is different. So again, we could have those consequences from those risks rather in delegation. And then also, please be very conscious of the capacity and the potential of the people you delegate to. Do not give for example, a copywriting task to a finance analyst. Of course, there's a mismatch. So you need to, even if that's the end game, you need to nurture that person patiently until the person is at a point where the person can effectively deliver as required. Now, again, recap points to sort of, take out from this to ensure you delegate effectively. Like I just mentioned, choose the right task and the right person and the right people. Make sure you communicate clearly. Again, if the person has a better understanding of what he or she is supposed to handle, there's a higher chance that you have a better output. Empower with autonomy. All the micromanagers in the house just wave at me because we are very fond of micromanaging without even knowing. So empower with autonomy, give some level of independence, allow people, do stuff, let them make mistakes. You're there to correct, don't scold, correct, provide resources and support. You delegate to people not to see them fail, but to see them succeed. And if that's the mindset, of course, it influences the quality of support you give to such a person. Then most importantly and finally, follow up and provide feedback. I think somebody in the chat, Oluwayomi Ute, said something very profound. He said, never expect what you don't inspect. That is a profound statement in the sense that if you hadn't taken time to inspect, follow up, interact, you shouldn't expect any miracle because there's a chance that there'll be a misalignment. I think with these few points and these few minutes, I'm hoping that I've been able to summarize, the quality topic that has come through from Dr. Okey and his brain, because he has a lot to offer. Trust me, if you give him 3 hours, he will keep us here and we'll all be, fully glued to our screen. So thank you very much, Dr. Okey, for having us. And I think I can hand over back to Prof, our moderator for the morning.
Thank you so much. We also have with us our Global Dean, Joan van der Vel, who is here with us. Thanks for your presence. We will now go into Q&A session. You put your questions in the chat room and we will read them out. You'll be glad to. So the first question here is from Felix Zonde. And the question is very simple. Regarding or rebuilding trust with your supervisor after you had a delegation failure. Say you delegated a task. And the feedback you got from your subordinate is that they are working on it. And you report as in progress only for your supervisor to find out that you lied to him because your subordinate has done nothing of the task you gave them. How do you handle this? May I ask Dr. Okey Okere, the expert in this area, to give us some insights?
And I first of all want to appreciate Felix for asking that question, because that is something that I have faced, and many of us who have delegated in the past, especially in multi-level and multi-tiered organizations, we have faced that problem where you give someone a task, I'm working on it, and then, when they ask you, when your own boss asks you, you say, oh yes, we are working on it, because you trust them. Yeah, and then tomorrow, when it is time to deliver, you now realize that it's not been done, and it's one of those risks in delegation where we talk about your reputation being at risk. So what is the failure there? The failure is that you did not supervise. And let us make a distinction between supervision and micromanaging, like Alvin pointed out. Yes, Alvin said, all the micromanagers, raise your hand. I've been guilty, like many of us, micromanaging because of trust. The reason why we dive in and check, what are you doing? Let me see. Let me see every slide as soon as you have completed every slide or something like that. It's because of trust. So how do you deal with that? Ensure that you don't over delegate. Remember the Peter principle we talked about? Assign tasks to people who have the skills and the interest, the commitment to get it done. Right? Your staff members, over time, you will know whether they have the skills or the interest. After a while, you will know the people who are actually pulling their weight and the people who are not. The people who are not pulling their weight, you will motivate them as a leader to get them to that level where they are showing the level of commitment required through consequence management if needed, rewards and sanctions. And of course, if they are untrainable, I prefer to look at myself as a teacher leader rather than the driver leader. If I see that I cannot teach you over time, you haven't learned anything in terms of skills, you haven't learned anything in terms of commitment, then I would have a frank conversation with you to say, perhaps I might not be the right leader for you. Maybe you should find somewhere else to be. So consequence management, of course, supervision, ensuring that those tasks are being done. So yes, you want to trust them. You don't want to micromanage, but there will be a check-in period where you would have to go in and see whether the work has been done. So practical example is we're having a presentation that we have to make next week. We don't have to wait until Friday to review the presentation. Let's put a check on Wednesday to say, on Wednesday, let's have a review. Let's have a review of the presentation on Wednesday. On Wednesday, you're not going to tell me we're working on it. No. On Wednesday, you're going to show me what you have done. And then I will know whether we are on course for Friday, or if I have to, unfortunately, take the task away from you by Thursday evening and walk through the weekend to get it done. And I will be clear to you if that happens, to say, you have disappointed me. I have delegated a task to you. You have not fulfilled your role. And what this basically means is that next time, I'm going to give somebody an opportunity to prove themselves instead of you. And that also means that, with all due respect, when opportunities for rewards, promotions come, you have not shown to be trustworthy. That opportunity will be given to the person who has proven themselves. So that's one way I think that we can deal with that. I think Alvin wants to contribute as well.
Okay.
No, I didn't want to. No, sorry, I didn't want.
We have other questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Would you like to take this question, Alvin? How do you handle a staff that have been trained on the subject matter, but turned out to be a threat to the institution and holding the superior officers to ransom? Alvin, would you like to take that?
So, I'm hoping I'm an expert in ransom situations. but seriously, so it's really back to what Dr. Okey said. Now, when you over-delegate, there's a high chance that people become masters at certain things, and then leaving out, that's key man risk. If you have a team where one person is a key man, I'm sorry to say this, but you're not managing that team properly. If anybody on the team can hold the rest of the team, if an individual can hold the rest of the team to ransom, there's some leadership gap that exists in that team. So what do you do if such a situation comes up? I think the first thing would be, it's always a remedy, or rather an approach that always works. You have to backtrack and begin to develop. Remember, you're the team lead in this case, I'm believing. You have to backtrack and begin to raise other people on the team to the point where that key man is not able to sort of flex his muscle across the team. And it's really in the coaching. And if you're intentional from now already, and I'm sure if you just think about it for a minute, yeah, you would find that if one person or two people on your team are going on vacation, you will start having palpitations, because you know that it's going to be a problem. This guy should go, because those across the team may not be on the same level as this guy. So those are indicators already that you are most likely on the route to being held ransom. So if you have the luxury of identifying this situation early enough, you have every opportunity, especially after this meeting, to begin to intentionally spread the skill set, spread the mentorship across your team. Again, not two individuals are the same. They will test you, no doubt, but the onus is on you to be as fluid and as adaptable as possible to make sure you have a very well balanced team. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alvin, for very great insight. May I call on the Dr. Okey Okere to answer the next question as we are preparing to round up? Where your team lack capacity, is it wrong to micromanage? There can be a thin line between teaching and micromanaging, especially in the public sector space. Over to you, Dr. Okey Okere.
I agree with that person, and I understand the person's perspective. And where do we draw the line between micromanaging and teaching. I gave that example of the driver versus the teacher. Sometimes some people you have to drive. Unfortunately, some people you have to drive. And as a leader, one of your key responsibilities is identifying the strengths and the weaknesses of people. So when you notice that, then obviously you see that that's where you notice that you actually have a talent challenge. The people I'm working with, I've done my best to train them, I've done my best to bring them up, I've given them tasks and they failed repeatedly. So when I'm delegating to them, I will delegate to them, yes, but at the same time, I will increase the frequency of supervision. It looks like micromanaging, but it is me meeting them at the level of their skill and the level of their interest. And it's us having an honest conversation between each other to say, hey, instead of having just one check-in meeting before the due date, I'm having 3 check-in meetings because, unfortunately for now, we need to build the trust. Yeah? I would have to watch you over time to see what you're doing. And over time, if I see that you're improving in that area, I will step back a bit and allow you to get things done. So it's something that you have to do carefully, but also to realize that, yes, indeed, let me not call it micromanaging, you will just increase the frequency of your supervision, all right? And that way you will ensure that there's no embarrassment for yourself or the staff. And support it with rewards and sanctions. Rewards in the sense that, hey, I'm giving you an opportunity to prove yourself. If you prove yourself, I will be able to reward you in these ways. That way you can go further, your career progress also can benefit from it. But then if you don't do it, these are the consequences. I can't fire you, especially in the public sector. I may not be able to fire you, but I can tell you that next time there's an opportunity for somebody to do something and advance their career, I might not be able to give that to you because you have not proven that you can deliver. So that's what I would say. Increase the level of the frequency of supervision and let the staff know the implications for not delivering to the quality desired and to the within the time frame required as well.
Let me thank Dr. Okey Okere as well as Alvin Agoram for a very insightful presentation today, for very wonderful reflection that was done by Alvin, professionally handled, and many have gained so much very positive comments on the chat rooms about your presentation as well as your reflection. We do know that we have another session, the 52nd session next week, in a week's time, Tuesday, when we'll be talking around the working on it. That is something around performance leadership. It's going to be another great time where we have discussion around the performance leadership. And this is just like talking of tonics every week, where you come and just spend a few minutes, about 38 minutes, stay with us. You have a review on various aspects of leadership. As business will continue to promote great leadership globally, we believe that everything rises and falls with leadership. And today we have discussed essentially on decision-making leadership, the need for delegation, the need for us not to micromanage, the need for us to build the competencies and commitments of our downlines in ensuring that we prepare each and every one of them for great succession opportunities for them. And the more they get better, the more we are able to also undo the work of our own superior. And in that way, we are able to accelerate our own growth as well. It is time to go back to work. The distance between your dream and the reality is called action. We need to get back to work today and take action. On that note, we'd like to say very big thanks to Dr. Okey Okere, to Alvin Agoram of Union Bank, and indeed to our global dean, who has been with us even before the program officially began. Nice to have you, Tony. We would like to see you next week when we'll be discussing the next topic on performance leadership, which is on performance leadership. So where we'll be talking around result orientation, outcomes. Every form of leadership must generate results. So we'll be talking on performance leadership. So please, let's have you come on time. Our starting time is exactly depending on the time of your location in the world. Just take note of the timing. I'll be sure that you are here with us on time. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Alvin, if you please hold on along with Dr. Okey Okere. Thank you. Bye. Okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. Okey Okere. So it's time now to reflect. So when I say reflection now, yes, each of the speaker and reflector will now have to reflect on what has happened and how do you feel? Let's start from Alvin, because Alvin is.
We still have some of the people on the call.
Because it's webinar.
Yes.
So it has that disadvantage.
Well, I think they're leaving gradually. So
yes, they are. That's about 2/3 of them have left. Yes.
All right, sir.
Yes.
Okay, do I go on, or I should hold on a bit?
You can hold on a bit. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to manually remove some of the buttons.
If we remove, at times we have difficulty getting back.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because it will be treated as if you block them.
Okay. I see what you mean.
So I've removed in the past, and I've realized they had difficulty signing back. So I had to go and retain them back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The people for my next meeting are already in the office, so I'm going to join them.
You are excused.
I would like to thank you a lot, Elvin and Okey, for a great presentation. Thank you so much. It was fantastic and beautifully done. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Troy. We appreciate your presence. Thank you. All right, so you can start your review, Alvin.
Okay, yeah. So this is the third time I'm joining BSN Good Morning, and I have the privilege of being reflected. So, I mean, when I was contacted to, with this honor, I wasn't sure how to react, but I think now that I've tasted it, it's something I'll always look forward to. I think what was very helpful was having the slides ahead of time. Very, very helpful. It helps me settle in, and I had my interpretation of it when I saw it, and then listening to Dr. Okere talk about it, it just created a deeper understanding. So I think more importantly is I cut off every distraction because I'm a reflector. So usually if I'm in a Good Morning BSN call, I could be doing other things at the same time. But trying to give feedback on the topic itself, I think it's very, very profound. Particularly because I want to even recommend that this is a topic that should be touched on every other quarter, because it lives with us. Delegation is always something we need to be reminded about, we need to be intentional about. And then listening to Dr. Okey, run through really helps. I like the part where he's also able to tie it to something he learned while he was at BSN, because again, those are some of the credits BSN should get. I am a living testimony too. So but overall, very, very apt. I think you are a genius, Dr. Okey, to be able to pack such a complex topic and make it look very simple in 3 slides. That's fantastic. So yeah, great session. Keeping it within time, wonderful, fantastic.
Thank you so much. And I will support your statement. Okay, I had professionally also prepared very professionally made slides. Very clear, very easy to follow, not worthy, and yes, very clear points were there, and it's one of the best slides I've watched on this program in the last 51 sessions. We are really grateful. We shouldn't expect anything less than that from Okey, really. Okey is the one who set the standards, and we follow. So over to you, Okey.
Sirs, you're making my head swell, sirs. I don't know what to say. I just want to say thank you so much. Much appreciated. I enjoyed the session as well. I love how we kept the time. And, it's good to see that the numbers are growing in terms of the attendance. So we're so glad that so many, and some people are still here now.
Yeah.
Even though we've asked everybody to leave, but they are still with us. I really appreciate Alvin underscoring a number of the points and, also asking questions in terms of involving the audience and, giving examples as well. So Alvin, thank you so much.
Thank you
so much. So it was a pleasure. And Prof, always a pleasure to fly with you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. On behalf of Business School Netherlands, we'd like to thank you, Alvin, for this participation. We encourage you to please tell other people about this, particularly your subordinates, as they learn more about leadership, they're able to also give you better support. And you are better off for it to help your own superior as well. As you free your time delegating, you're also in a better position to help your boss to achieve his objectives. And you can always go back and say, is there any other thing I can do to help you and lessen your workload? And so we believe that building the culture of great leadership will go a long way in helping everybody down the line from the lowest to the highest. And we look forward to you telling more people in Union Bank to join this session and telling more people in Union Bank to join this school as well. So as to be able to demonstrate the kind of expertise that Dr. Okey Okere has shown, and to be able to show greater level of professionalism on the job. It creates a win-win for everybody, for the individual, for the organization, for the team they work in, for their family. And so the whole essence of great leadership would now become a great asset, not just to the person, but to the company, to the family, and indeed to the nation. So education is the key to transformation. Thanks so much. God bless you. Okay? I cannot but say big thank you, but I know what decision you had to take at the last minute. Yes. And I'm so inspired, so impressed with what you've been able to do within this process.
Alvin, just a background. This was actually a delegation issue.
That's
we had delegated to someone else, but I had to jump in at the last minute.
Yeah.
when it was not done, you have to take over the job. Yeah. And that is the kind of question that came up. So at one point you have to say you are micromanaging. And I love the way you handled that question. Because it was delegated to somebody who would not do it at the last minute, and Okey quickly made fresh arrangement. I'd like to thank you, Okey, for a wonderful leadership. Thank you, Alvin. Look forward to seeing you. Look forward to seeing you soon in the school. So,
all right, sir.
and your people. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.